G'day, spring chickens and Charles Dickens. I guess I really shouldn't use a spring example when it's fall, but Hey everybody, my name is John and welcome to ADITW, a day in the Word, the internet's favorite Bible study. We about to get down with Matthew chapter 6. And remember last week when I said we would only be going through one section per chapter? Well, this week we're going through 4. Let's start by reading Matthew 6 verses 1 through 18. So here, my Bible breaks this passage up into 3 sections: giving to the needy, prayer, and fasting. And it makes sense why these would appear together, these 3 very common spiritual disciplines. However, that is not the only thing they have in common. Look with me closely at how each section begins. Giving to the needy begins with Jesus saying in verse 1, "Be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by them." The section on prayer starts in verse 5. It says, "And when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by others." And yet again with fasting, Jesus says in verse 16, "When you fast, do not look somber as the hypocrites do, for they disfigure their faces to show others they are fasting." It seems to me that Jesus is not making a case for the necessity of these spiritual disciplines, but rather he is talking about how we should engage in them. The importance of giving and prayer and fasting is all implied. That's like level 1 stuff. But simply following these instructions, simply doing the right or Christian thing is not enough. Jesus is saying here, not only do we need to check our behavior, but we need to check the impulse, the reason, the heart behind the behavior. Why do you give? What's your reason for praying? How do you go about your fasting? Ultimately, Jesus is challenging the heart behind our faith. He's asking us, does our obedience stem from a desire to glorify God or glorify ourselves? Do we want others to know that we are a good person or to know that He is a great God? Through the lens of 3 very common spiritual disciplines, Jesus is asking, are you really doing these to serve God or are you doing these to serve yourself? And this question, it goes beyond prayer and giving and fasting. In light of this teaching from Jesus, each and every one of us has to do a little bit of digging into our own lives. We have to ask ourselves, why do we serve in church? Why do you wear that cross around your neck? Why do you post about how you're praying for someone online? I'm not saying that any of these practices are bad whatsoever, but Jesus does challenge us to check the motives behind them. Are we doing this to make God's name great or to make us look good? Let's move on now and read the next section. Let's read verses 19 through 24. So the lesson found here is easily connected to the first half. We cannot serve 2 masters. So when we engage in these spiritual or religious disciplines, we have to be careful about preserving our own image more than honoring God's. And the text makes it very clear that if our intention is to receive recognition from others, aka if our intention is to store up treasures on earth, then our reward will come, but it will pass as quickly as it came. That's how it works with the praise of men. Ever heard of 15 minutes of fame? I see you, Pokemon Go. But as for those who truly seek to glorify God through their obedience and service, aka those who store up treasures in heaven, the promise that they inherit is truly great. When we engage in spiritual disciplines and practices, when we live out our Christian faith, not for our own glory, but truly desiring to glorify God the Father, the promise of the Scriptures is that then our reward will be an eternal one. Thank you all so much for watching another episode of ADITW. I hope you all have had a great week. Usually at the end of these videos, I ask you to comment down below and tell me what you thought of this chapter, what other things you learned, and I would still love you to comment down below and say those things, but I also want to hear just, how was your week? Let me know down below. How was your week? What's going on in your life? How can I pray for you? I want to be there for you all because you all are there for me so often, and I love you guys and girls and dogs and puppies. That's all I have for you. I love you all. Keep being awesome. Big hands.